Taylor, there is something I want to bring up at the start of this episode because I've been getting a lot of backlash about interviewing young girls who have come forward. Now, we have a mutual friend, Tiana Wadsworth, an amazing girl. Why do you feel the need to share your story now?
I feel like as like a young person, it's like I remember being in a position thinking there was like no way out of what I was in, and if there was like more hope spread about like young people, like Narcotics Anonymous, even going that to there, like so many people that like aren't my age, like it's so much an older crowd and it's so hard to find like a hope message for someone my age, like male or female, like it's it can be quite hopeless, like, trying to get clean very young.
Now, I know that you have worked in the sex industry, is that correct?
Yeah.
And I feel like some of the people we look up to on social media often portray this glamorous lifestyle. So I think the message that you're trying to say is that if there was someone who was young and beautiful like you are saying that is so bad to do and there is another way, you might not have gone down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, like today the influencers and like I know I follow this girl on TikTok and like it's portrayed as such a really nice lifestyle and it's just like it's so like not what it is. Like, it's about like all the money and like all the validation and the public appeal of being approved, and it's just the spots that you have to go in to get that, like it's that's what's the word, it's like put a filter on of like how bad it is, and it's normalized a lot in my generation. Like the
glamorization of it. Yeah. Totally done. Who is in your family?
So I'm one of 5. So I have an older sister. I'm the second oldest. I have a brother, another sister, and then a little brother in Melbourne.
What was your childhood like?
So both my parents are recovering addicts themselves. They actually have a lot of clean time up. So I actually never grew up in a home with them using in front of me. Like I never have seen them on substances. So my mum is 23 years clean from alcohol and drugs, and my dad is 24 years clean from alcohol and drugs. So like am blessed to have had them go through their journeys of recovery before I was brought into this world. Like it's like I could have, like I grew up with a lot of kids that didn't have the opportunity that I had, but I had the same parents with the same addiction. Like they just chose a different pathway, and I was really grateful for that. I was quite a complex kid. I have a lot of mental health diagnoses. It's just what it was, like I grew up like pretty like I had everything I needed, like money wise. I was taken care of. Dad worked a lot. But like recovering addicts, like it's so good and well if you're clean, but like it's like you need to do the work. Like you're still an addict without the drugs, if that makes sense. And like hats off to my parents for trying the way that they did. Like, they did create a life that, could have been very different for us growing up. I had like a lot of domestic violence from both my parents growing up. I would say I was a bit over-disciplined by my mother. Like she had a lot of issues with her rage from like just, trauma that hadn't been processed yet. Like to this day, she's so much better. She has done a lot of journey and self-improvement on herself. Like don't have the same mother I grew up with, which is a blessing. But my dad had a lot of mental health issues, and it wasn't the best growing up.
I think substance abuse is often a byproduct of trauma. So for them to be clean, they might have stopped using substances, but there's still the trauma lurking. Yeah. And I love how you talk about your mum, how you can understand the journey that she's been on.
Yeah.
What were you like as a teenager?
I was crazy. I was absolutely crazy. I have borderline personality disorder. And and that's another result of trauma, that diagnosis. Like it's a trauma-based one. Like I would have never had it if I didn't experience the PTSD levels that I did, which is it's terrible. But I like in my addiction, like which I was like addicted to meth from the age of 15.
Okay.
And that just
Let's talk about the diagnoses first.
yeah.
Bipolar disorder.
BPD. Borderline personality.
Sorry, excuse me. BPD. When were you first diagnosed with that?
So I was diagnosed at like 17, but obviously it was very they don't diagnose people that are drug addicts and on drugs because they don't know if it's the drug that's doing it or the diagnosis. So I had to wait till I was like, in hospital for a week with physical issues. I was in ICU for a week, and then I had a really big episode and they admitted me under the Mental Health Act when I was there, and there were obviously no drugs in my system because I'd been in hospital for ages. So then they were able to diagnose me.
When did that first show up in your life, the BPD? When, as a girl, I don't know, how old were you, like 10 or like what age were you when you thought, oh, I'm different from everyone else?
I think I always was a bit different, but I think it like started to because I'd been through the same trauma as my siblings and I was reacting a lot different. Like they didn't have much of the violence on them because I would react different to them to situations. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was like, well, what is wrong with me? Because like my sister, she suffered from a really big eating disorder. She a lot of my younger ones were a bit young to realize what was happening when it was happening. But me and my sister,
we went through it.
We copped it. We were like the age where we could understand what was happening. Yeah, she was in and out of hospital a lot, and then I was just in and out of drug use and.
Okay, so what was the first drug you ever did? Was it?
Weed.
Okay, weed. What age was that?
Probably like 14.
How'd you get your hands on that?
So I was with like a family friend, known her for like ages, and she told me she tried it like a week before, and I was like, I want to try it. Like I was very educated about drugs. Meanwhile, I grew up in NA meetings, so I know what they do to you. Like I was so I knew what I was getting myself into, but I just had like the fuck it's moment. Like I'm a teenager, I need to try things kind of thing. And I remember we got some weed and I smoked it once, and then I remember the next day she goes, I go, all right, well we got a little bit left, let's try it again. And she was like, no, I don't want to do it again. And I was like,
you just had that in you.
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean you don't want to do it again? Like that was the best thing ever. And she was like, no, I don't. And I was just remember like, fuck, I think I'm an addict. Like straight away. And that was like my first time because I'm like, how can, like, she was a normie. She could put it down. I was
You're like, if it's there, what am I going to do? Say no?
Yeah. Like
we're going to do it.
Not an option for my brain to process that no was not an option. That was just like euphoric.
Have you always been addicted to feeling good?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like I was just talking with my partner and I was just like any little feel goods growing up, like I was addicted to. Like I was like, I like a lot of my addiction probably came from trauma, but I feel like sometimes it's generational, a disease of addiction. And like, if you look at my family history, like a lot of my family are addicts, either in recovery or in active addiction. Mm-hmm. And it's like, like I had a lot of problems with sugar growing up. Like I was I was carbohydrate intolerant, so I wasn't allowed it. And I remember going to school and like being like scavenging my friends' lunchboxes, like, what do you have? Like swap, like straight away as soon as it was snack time.
It's that scarcity mindset. I'm the exact same, Taylor. I grew up with an almond mother. So as soon as I started working like a little fish and chip job and I got money, I'd spend it straight on like Krispy Kremes. It was like my Willy Wonka. Yeah. I was in heaven.
Yeah.
When you try harder drugs at 15, what was that again?
Ice.
You tried ice at 15?
Yeah, I've tried GHB first.
What?
Yeah.
How and when?
So it's quite like I was really young and I had met this older guy that was kind of known in my small town. We met under really bad circumstances. I'm quite tall female and, he was trying to like staunch me kind of thing. Like, and I was like, what are you doing? I'm literally taller than you. And he just snapped it. He was chasing me around one of my drug dealers' houses with a chainsaw. And I had deodorant can and a lighter. And I was like, this, get away from me. Like, it was insane. And I remember like going after that incident that day, going like, I need his number.
Oh, it turned you on.
No, I was just like, I was so like a adrenaline junkie.
Right.
Like it wasn't even like a turn you on. It's like, this guy's fun. Like, you know what I mean? I was so chasing like just a lifestyle of just chaos.
It's like another high.
Yeah, like that was definitely a part of my story. Like it's just chaos. I thrived on it.
So you end up getting this little man's, I'm going to assume, is he short?
Yeah, he was short. He was actually 30 years old though.
Okay, and how old were you?
I was 15.
All right, so the alarm bell should have been ringing.
Yeah, but
you grab this grown ass man's number, you link up, and then do you do it together?
So then the next day I called him and I was like, what are you doing on board? And I met up with him and we smoked weed, we did a little bit of acid. I'd done acid before, so it wasn't really a big deal to me. And then he got this little thing dropped off in like a liquid bottle and I was like, what's that? Never seen anything like that before. I was like, what is that? And he's like, oh, you wouldn't like it. It tastes terrible. And I was like, yeah, but what does it do? And he's like, oh, it kind of makes you feel drunk. And I remember going like, oh, that sounds fun. I never really liked alcohol because I hate consuming a lot of it. That's why drugs were easier for me. I was just like, oh, that sounds really fun. Anyway, and then like a little bit of time went by and he was just doing heaps and I was like, give me some. And he said no, and then he looked away and I just pulled a whole syringe of GHB and then put it in my mouth. It was really bad. I OD'd really bad and I woke up and there was I blew out in the shower. I woke up and there was just ambulance people just like over my head and I was just like, it was fucked.
So did he call for help?
No, so we were at someone else's house and he blew out too. So we were both just gone. And then, Frank in Queensland is different term. But, yeah, and then the guy's house that it was out found us both just on the ground blown out.
Tell me about the weeks after that. Please don't tell me you start using ice after that experience.
Yeah, I think I used ice like a week after that.
So once you had come down, were you like, that felt amazing, or were you like, I liked being out of my body? What was the thought process?
Of the come down?
Yeah.
From
After being
ice
so
or
scared.
GHB?
GHB, that experience of waking up in the freaking bathtub with paramedics around you. Did that scare you at all?
No. I was actually terrified because there was police there and I had to go to court that day.
Okay.
Not because of the paramedics. Like I literally was like.
You were like, I'm alive, I can do more.
I didn't know what happened in the time. I didn't know much about the drug. I didn't honestly, I came to and felt fine. Like, cause it like, I remember when I was obviously ODing at the time, I did not feel fine and I just was like my head spinning, but it happened really quickly. So I actually didn't know I didn't know what had happened until like further use of GHB and further knowledge around it.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, like maybe I don't know, I fell asleep. Like.
And then within the span of 7 days, you try ice.
Yeah.
Was it the same man who introduced you to that?
It was his friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about that time.
I remember like after I did it, I was sitting there and I went on the grass and I just like laid and like was looking at the skies for like good 5 minutes and I was just like, I've never felt better in my life. Like you don't even know how to subscribe it. It's just like everything bad in the world turns good. Like it's like everything makes sense. Like it just doesn't, it's an out of body experience, and it's just like it's there's no words for it. Like it was just amazing. Like that was when I was like, this is it. Like I've finally found what I've been searching for my whole life.
Did you start using frequently?
Yeah. Yeah. And I got myself involved with a gang member and his best friend. And then I was involved with them for like maybe 6 months, and they definitely took advantage of me. Like I was 16 at that point, and they were quite older. They were like 25, 24, and they were just like pumping me full of GHB and gear. Like I wanted it, wasn't saying no, but it's just the moral of it now. I look back and just go, what the fuck were they doing to me?
I'm going to ask you something, and we can edit this out. You don't have to answer this. Were they assaulting you during this time? Because it seems like a huge power imbalance to have a 16-year-old girl high on whatever drugs are going and much older men, especially when there's multiple of them.
I wasn't getting assaulted, but it was definitely blurry between how much substance were in my body and like, you know, like sometimes I would barely be able to talk because I was so fucked up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I hadn't had experiences with them that were negative, but definitely their friends and definitely just other like people I got involved with trying to get drugs or, you know, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time kind of situations. Like I've been raped a lot of times because GHB is a very much like you OD on it very quickly. And like there's been a lot of scenarios where I blow out on one side of the room with my clothes on and then come to on the other side of the room with my clothes off.
Thank you for telling me.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry. That's not okay. Like that's horrible. I'm so sorry you went through that.
You know, like I think about all the sexual abuse that has happened to me in situations and I'm so detached from it. I think the drugs, they so detach you from sexual assault because it's like, you know, like I've been sexually abused not high and put myself in the good environments as well. Them ones are the ones that have affected me. But like in the end, like I'm not saying sexual assault's right in any way, but I put myself in them situations. You know what I mean? I was there with older males. I was there like, you know, with like not protecting myself. Like I wasn't doing the right by myself. Like I didn't know any better at the time because I was a drug addict. I was surviving, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying because I'm the exact same where although I never ever victim blame like at all, there are situations in my life personally where I think back in all the grey areas and I would have never been in that situation had I been off my head. And I think like you were saying, I've always kind of looked at it through blurred lines, but I don't know if it comes with age or like longer in my sobriety. I look back and I think, no, that was rape and that was assault. But the drugs have helped me. They've almost protected me from it in this weird fucked up way. So I understand exactly what you're saying. So you said that you were involved with this gang or the boys from the gang for 6 months. How did that end? Because getting out of gangs is not easy to do.
One committed suicide.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a very sad story. I saw him a week before his death. Yeah, it was terrible. You know, it was funny because I didn't process it when I was on drugs. Like I remember my first rehab admission after it, and I just was like it hit me. Like I lost 2 friends in the space of like quick timing, both to suicide, but both drug addicts. So it's like, you know, it was a lot to process for my young brain. I hadn't lost anyone in my life before, no family members, nothing. Like, so it was like, fuck.
And did you think at that time that you were kind of invincible and death didn't attach itself to you? You were doing all these drugs, you were doing all these things, and then when someone close to you suddenly holds up the mirror to your mortality, you might get a fright.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say I was invincible to drug. Like, I
Mhm.
didn't think that. Like, I honestly was probably using to die. Like, I was so not okay in the headspace. I had a really bad suicide attempt. That was really bad. I tried to slit my throat, and police were there to stop me, and I got pepper sprayed and put in a psych ward.
Okay.
That was really bad.
Was that after, where in the timeline are we? Are we after the
That was me
suicide?
trying to get recovery.
Right.
Yeah. So I started my recovery journey at 17.
Mm-hmm. What, in your eyes, Tate, would you consider your darkest day?
So probably, so one weekend I was using ice flat out, and I actually had a boyfriend, but like I completely ignored him. Like I was just out, like off my brain cells, and my family don't normally leave me at home. Like I wasn't at my home, but like I said, go away without me because I'm so reckless. Like I'm getting arrested in hospital or I'm in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So like anyway, so they normally would bring me, but my addiction was so bad at that point that I actually refused to go because like I couldn't get drugs. Like I was at a point where it's like no. And so they left without me for my brother's birthday and camping. Anyway, and then I physically got so unwell all throughout my addiction because I neglected my body. Like me sober today, like I'm straight on things when I'm something's not right, or like straight to the doctor, check up, whatever. But I was so neglected my body. Like if something was wrong with me, I would wait till I like was hospitalized to go do something about it. Like, and I was at a point I actually got sepsis. Yeah, it was really bad, and that was one of my like breaking points, to be honest. It was like yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Throughout this story, we are yet to hear about you being a sugar baby, essentially, or you had sugar daddies. When did you get involved in that world?
When I was 16.
How did that happen?
I don't even remember how this guy contacted me, but he contacted me and he offered me money for me to go to his motel, and he said he'll pay for my nails and like a little lingerie outfit, and he had a really nice car, and I was like, and he said he was a coke dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really like coke, but it was anything I could get, And I went, and it actually was really fucked up that first time. I actually ended up stabbing myself by accident, and I sliced my hand open, and he wouldn't let me go to the hospital. And I literally got home the next morning, and like no one was home when I got home, and I FaceTimed someone. They were like, I'm calling an ambulance right now. It was messed up. I got cut from all the way there to there. Like, see how I have webbing here?
Yeah.
It's from stitches.
Okay. I need to know the details. Do you drive over there? You said it was a hotel.
I don't drive.
Okay. So did he send a car?
Yeah.
He sent a car. Did you get wrapped up in that world, or did you? Was the money good?
Yeah. I'm young and I was pretty. I got a lot of money. It was like $1,000 an hour.
When you see him, are you repulsed, or do you think the money is so good and he's average looking, so I can do this?
None of them were my type. It was the drugs. I would do anything if you gave me drugs. Like, that's all I cared about. Like, I physically, like, and mentally did not care who I was around. Like I had no real friends in addiction. I was fake to every person I was with. Like, didn't matter what my surrounding was, as long as I had drugs.
Did he give you coke when you were there?
Yeah. I never saw a sugar daddy that wouldn't give me drugs.
Okay.
That was out of the option.
I assume you ended up sleeping with him. Was it, again, you detaching from your body?
Yep, completely.
Does he give you cash at the end in an envelope? Does he transfer?
No transfers, all cash.
All cash?
Yeah.
How often do you see him again?
So I saw him for like a month, and then he just decided, he's like, he can't see any other guys. And I was like, oh, well, this is getting too personal. Bye. And then I started going on the sugar baby site, and that's where it kicked off. And I just was seeing Like, I have a really high profile person in Melbourne that I used to see, and then it continued to the Gold Coast when I moved.
And was it always $1,000 an hour?
Yes, I wouldn't do any
Minimum?
less.
Yeah.
I would not. Because I knew what I could get, so why would I go down for lower?
Totally. I'm so curious. Do they pay you just for the hours that you are like physically entertaining them, or do they pay you for sleepovers?
I didn't sleep over much because I didn't, or I was high.
Yeah,
I
right.
couldn't sleep. And then I'd just be sitting there blabbing someone's mouth off. They'll be blabbing my mouth off. And I'm not good. I wouldn't savor that.
Were you just on that website specifically to get money for drugs? Like it was just sex for you? Or did they try and wine and dine you? Did they try and take you away?
I had one particular client in Melbourne who would often say, "Oh, let's go to Thailand, let's go to Bali, let's do this, let's do that." And I was so open to it. My passport was locked up in a safe at my mum's house.
I mean, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Upon reflection,
Yeah.
hallelujah.
Yeah. She tried to protect me with, like, she knew what I was doing. She tried to protect me literally at all costs, but in the end, she can't stop me from doing it. Like, I've got free will.
Tay, I've always been curious. Do you still work in the industry now, the sex industry? How do you go from making $1,000 an hour to a regular 9 to 5 now, or the job that you have? I assume it doesn't pay $1,000 an hour.
So, right now I'm on a disability pension.
Okay.
So but I actually don't need money for anything. Like, I am looked after. Like, I live in a very nice house in Burleigh. I generally, I barely used the money that I got from sugar daddies for drugs. Like, I got a lot of, I didn't have to pay for anything. Like, it wasn't even me sleeping with them. Like, a lot of people just liked my company, as in, like, it validated their addiction, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, or they thought they could sleep with me. So it's like, they're like, feeding me, like,
It's like the ego.
And so when I got the money, it was all to fill that hole inside. Like, it was designer things. It was, it was all useless stuff. Like, today that, like, wouldn't fill that hole.
Yeah.
Because I'm not in desperate need to fill that hole anymore.
Yes. I relate to that so much. I find that I don't spend any money at all because I don't need to prove myself to others, like by buying an outfit and always doing my hair and having a tan and being, I completely understand. Let's talk about you getting sober. I know that you said that you always kind of knew that you had an addiction and that you had a problem. When was the day where you thought enough is enough?
So I am bisexual. I had a girlfriend. She is currently still in addiction. So I was about 2 years ago. So I'd always been going to rehabs and stuff. I was court ordered for a bit to go to one, so I had to do that serve that. And then I would always go to rehab just to make mum happy. But with addiction, you're never going to get clean if you don't want it yourself, like, full stop. Like, you can have ulterior motives. Like, yes, like, it's so fantastic that I wanted to get clean and, like, improve my relationships. But it doesn't matter. If I didn't want it myself, like, it didn't work. And that's why it didn't work for so long. Like, like, it didn't work. And then when when this incident happened, I remember one day I was on the way to rehab, and my girlfriend was currently homeless because she gotten kicked out of her house for just crazy shit. Anyway, that night before I went to rehab, like, I always got fucked up before I went to rehab. It was just a common thing I did.
I've heard this.
Anyway, yeah. And I stole a whole bottle of GHB from one of my dealers because I was like, not going to see you again. So I stole it. Anyway, and then I realised that my girlfriend has nowhere to stay. So I begged my mum to let her stay in my room while I was in rehab. And mum was like, yeah, but she can't do drugs. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to give you this bottle of G now because you're going to just like, you know, I was like to her, take like a few meals a day, like don't do anything reckless. Like this is to help you ease off the gear because she was on the ice and G wasn't her problem. She didn't really even touch it. And that day she sculled that whole bottle of G. And like, I remember we hopped in the car and that was like 5 minutes after she took it. And she's like, I'm feeling juicy. And I was like, you're fucking lying. Like, yeah, I told you to take a few meals. Like, and she's like, I took the whole bottle. And then 10 seconds after she said that, she just right on my lap. It was really bad. And I had, it was messed up. They got her to the hospital in time. They pumped her stomach and everything. But I had watched a lot of people OD, but not one I cared about and not one that I gave the drugs to. She was 17 and I got charged giving her drugs to a minor because I was 18. It was a really bad situation. I had court case after court case for that. It was a really bad situation. It wasn't even the law, the charges that did me. It was someone I cared about. I gave them drugs. They nearly died in my arms. It affected my mum's job too. She worked in resi care, so she worked with youth. She was driving that car that when she OD'd, and my mum got stood down for a bit because it was so messy. It was the messiest thing ever. That was when I was like, you know what? This shit's going to keep on happening if I don't pull my shit together. Like it's bound to just reoccur after reoccur. Obviously not that same situation, but just fuck situations like that. Like,
I'm assuming she ends up living.
yeah. Unfortunately, she's still in active addiction today though.
Okay. So you were actually on the way to rehab when this was all going down.
I got dropped off to rehab and I was bawling my eyes out. I was hysterical for hours until I got a message from one of the higher up people in the rehab who said, we just got a call from the hospital. She's okay. She's alive. And I was like,
I want to hear about that rehab stint actually, and why was this different? I know that internally you said something shifted. Did you attend everything they had suggested? Did you wake up with new purpose, or was it a slow burn?
So I actually stayed for like a week in that rehab that time. And then, but it wasn't, I don't remember what I got kicked out for. Something. I was a little shit, hey.
You got kicked out of that rehab?
I get kicked out a lot of rehabs actually.
Okay.
More for like sneaking vapes in, you know. But it wasn't about that rehab stint that changed my view. Because in the end, rehab is awesome. Like, it's amazing. Like, I would, like, if anyone needs help with addiction issues, they're amazing places. I would say go to a 12-step rehab. They're amazing. But it's not what you do in rehab. I mean, yes, it helps. But rehab's a bubble.
Yeah.
You know, it's what you do on the outside. I remember coming outside of that rehab stint and I'm just going, right, this is it. NA meeting every day. I need a therapist. I need to get my medication right, and I'm doing this shit.
Wow.
I just stopped. I was like, I can't keep living this.
When you told your mum about this decision, was there a sense of, oh yeah, I've heard this before?
Mm-hmm. But my mum's so supporting. She's an addict herself. She knows what it's like to want to try but not stop. You can't stop. Like, I grew up with like the best parents in the sense of for my addiction.
Yeah, they would understand it to their core.
Yeah.
Because I love that you said that you actually met Tiana, was it at a meeting that you and your mum were both attending? So you both attend meetings together?
Yes.
What is that like as an experience? Has it drawn you together?
For sure. Like, we've got a connection that my siblings don't have with her. You know, it can be a blessing and it can be a curse. Like, you know, sometimes you want to share from the floor in meetings and, like, you don't want your mum hearing, you know?
Of course.
And I feel like some of it is filtered that maybe I could need to get off my chest, but that's okay. But, like, other than that, like, she's done some stuff that, like, other mums wouldn't do for my recovery and journey in NA. Like, you know, she took me to meetings for years. Every day, and we lived in a small town hour from Melbourne.
Wow.
So that is an hour trip there, an hour trip back for a meeting every day.
Wow. What acts of service, queen.
Yeah, I'm blessed.
Have you had a lapse?
Yeah, so my story does have relapse in it for sure. And like, you know, I try not to focus on that. Like, it's disappointing. Like, I could have a straight stint amount of time, but I don't. That's not my story. But I look at the person that first walked into, say, for example, NA, and to the person I am now, it doesn't matter how much clean I am, that is two different people. And that is fucking amazing. Like, I look at, like, you know, I had a lot of IVOs, which is a safety intervention order. All my family did, except for my father. I had one against him. All ex-best friends, ex-boyfriends, like, anyone who got close to me, I would one day eventually blow up with a BPD episode, you know, and the drugs didn't help that. And, you know, they'd put orders on me, and when that order finished, they would repeat it, go to court. So I'd repeated, like, and to this day, no one has an IVO on me, and that's really big for me to say.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Yeah,
Don't undermine that. That's huge.
Yeah, I have like a lot of people. It was a ridiculous amount that had IVOs on me.
God. Why is it, we're going to start wrapping up the interview. I've loved chatting to you. Why is it important for you to stay sober for your future? Like, what do you look forward to?
I look forward to having a life that I've dreamed of. Like, not all the fancy shit, not a nice house, not like nice cars and stuff like that. Like, generally sitting with people surrounding me and just being okay. Like, you know, with all my trauma and extensive, like, history, you know, like, it has not been easy to sit with the people I love. And, you know, it's been really hard, and, like, that's what it comes to. That's the people I would ride or die for. Like, it's the people I love.
This will be my final question. What does healing look like to you? We were talking before we started, and we said we both have to go to the beach now and we have to do these little acts for ourselves. What does that look like for you?
I'm a big nature person, hey. I just, like, this year for my birthday, everyone was like, what do you want to do? Like, go somewhere fancy and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I'm getting everyone. We're packing up and we're going camping in the bush. Like, that's just where I thrive. Like, I, like, grew up going camping in Mansfield near Mount Buller. That's my best memories right there.
Yeah.
And I had a really fucked up childhood, and that was the best memories. No signal, you know, no devices, just water, laughs, campfire, good food. That's it. That's what heals me.
Taylor, thank you so much for coming on Soberly Speaking. I've loved your story.
Thank you for having me.